year's Moving Up ceremony is unique and will be remembered for generations. The pandemic has brought difficult challenges to education, but it has brought some positive changes to our students' attitude and approach to learning. It has shaped students into flexible and independent learners. It has made them become even more goal and purpose-driven. Today, we will celebrate and recognize these achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Navalan National High School 6th Moving Up and First Virtual Ceremony.
Ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuyak ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, makituwi
shores and mountains filled with treasures, a rich land where dreams unfold. Its people marching on to progress, hearts and daughters brave and true. Hand in hand with brother Filipinos, Zamboanga will make you great. We'll work in seasons without relenting. For country's might you can count on us. Come to beautiful Zamboanga shore. Welcome to God's great gift given to man. Share our joys and sorrows, join in the making of the wondrous land. Zamboanga through the bountiful, we love thy whole hearts, great and small. We will live for you, we will die for you. Fearless is our Zamboanga soul. Come to beautiful Zamboanga shore. Welcome to God's great gift given to man.
God's great gift given to
share our joys and sorrows, join in the making of the wondrous land.
This land, the wondrous
Zamboanga through the bountiful, we love by all hearts, great and small. We will live for you, we will die for you. Fearless is our Zamboanga soul.
Our school's division superintendent of the division of Zamboanga del Sur, Dr. Maharani M. Jacinto, and the rest of the division officials, our district supervisor of Tukuran East District, Dr. Elendric Ditalia, faculty members, parents, friends, ladies and gentlemen. The past 12 months have been challenging for all of us, and in particular for each of you. The pandemic has not only claimed millions of lives, but it also has changed our lives in so many ways. Schools around the world have been forced to shut down, and as a result, millions of children are deprived of education. The crisis continues to exist with no end in sight, but we are fortunate that we still have access to education through distance learning. Learning outside the four walls of the classroom appeared to be an impossible idea at first. But with the students' cooperation and the support of parents, we were able to achieve our goals. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the parents for your unrelenting support to your children and the school. We understand that having your children at home 24/7 and holding full responsibility of their education is no simple task. Transitioning to the new normal of learning have been tough, but we were able to successfully implement it because of your support. To the students, congratulations. Having to answer learning modules on your own without a teacher to guide you could be very stressful and demotivating. But you are here now, attending our virtual moving ceremonies. This means you have successfully met various learning standards to be qualified for promotion to senior high school. You were able to continue learning and achieve excellence despite living in the middle of a pandemic. Consider this as one of your biggest achievements in life. We hope that you continue to keep the same level of determination and motivation as you step into a higher level of education under the new normal of learning. I would like to congratulate the teachers for a job well done. You have to risk your health to report to school to fulfill your duties, some of which include distributing and checking learning modules. Your hard work has paid off. We were able to navigate a tough school year because of your dedication. I look forward to your continued support in the next school year. The pandemic has brought tremendous problems and new challenges, but it has also taught us resilience, compassion, and many other important life lessons. Let us all continue to cooperate with one another and work hard for excellence. Congratulations to all completers. May you remain persistent in pursuing your goals and dreams. We, your teachers and parents, are proud of you.
To our very own school principal, Mr. Raul A. Albarazin, to our beloved faculty members, parents and guardians, and my fellow competitors, a pleasant afternoon. Moving off ceremony is an exciting time. It is both an ending and beginning of warm memories of the past and big dreams for the future. On behalf of Batch 2020-2021, I am honored and delighted to welcome each and everyone to this most awaited moment of grade 10 students. Today is a special day to witness the commemoration of Navalan National High School 2021 moving off ceremony with the theme Strengthening the Quality of Education Amid the COVID-19 Pandemic. This journey is very challenging. With the prevalence of the pandemic, a lot of things has changed. Blended learning has been implemented to ensure everyone's safety. But despite of all of this, we remain unstoppable. We strive, we stand, we prove that nothing can stop us from reaching our dreams. After how many months of modular learning, we are finally here. We have finally reached the end point of our junior high school journey. We finally taste the fruit of our 4-year academic endeavor and hard works. It's truly a great achievement to us. Because of this, I want to give my deepest thank you to our beloved parents and guardians who supported us financially, emotionally, and morally, and to our dear teacher who give their full support and effort just to provide learning materials for us. To my fellow competitors, congratulations and good luck to our next journey. Once again, welcome to the very first Navalan National High School virtual moving off ceremony.
Good day to each and everyone who is attending virtually present at this time of our graduation ceremonies for our beloved and very precious graduates for the school year which ends at this time. First of all, I'd like to greet the parents and family members without whose sacrifices, whose reminders, and whose participation in the learning process for our graduates have resulted in this culmination program. This year, your role has changed drastically, where we've always believed that the matter of educating our children rests nearly exclusively on our teachers and our staff. This time, you parents, you family members, you who are in the households of our learners have expanded your role and contributed to this wonderful day wherein finally our learners are graduating in this culmination exercise. So congratulations, because this year has not been very easy, has not been a picnic for our teachers, for our family members, as well, especially the parents, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and all who have contributed to the achievement of our learners at this time. So, maraming salamat at congratulations, parents and family members. Mas malaki ang role ninyo at this time compared to earlier graduation exercises. Secondly, I would also like to greet our teachers, without whose very careful review and careful supervision of the work of our pupils and our learners, this event would not be taking place at all. And so thank you, teachers. Your role has also expanded, in addition to seeing to it that the modules are faithfully followed, the assignments are correctly implemented, and the learners are truly learning. And you have had to deal with new ways of assessing the performance also of the learners. So congratulations, teachers, for enduring, for your patience, for your love for our learners, and your willingness to engage in a way and methods of teaching which are different from those which are used to. Assessment must have been especially difficult for you, especially since you were not able to see most of the time our students in face-to-face meetings, and most of the meetings, of course, were virtual. We'd also like to thank the local government units for their interest, for their cooperation, and for their continuing contributions to the needs of education, even as our children do not go to school. Your donations of material as well as financial resources at this time are most welcome, and your advice has been taken seriously not only by our teachers, by our school officials, but also by our officials in the Department of Education. We continually talk with local government units, especially in times of disaster, in times of great need for classrooms, for space, and for responses to unforeseen emergencies. Thank you, local government units. But of course, most of the congratulatory greetings fall on the deserving graduate. Each and every one of you is truly special. You are different from the other graduates who have passed through the portals of your school. You went to school practically without seeing your teachers, if at all. You went to school with your parents, your mothers, and your fathers hovering over your shoulders and seeing to it that you are able to complete your assignments. You are completing your studies at a time when examinations and assessments are different. You are culminating these long months of hard work at this time, even as you have to do family chores, even as you are distracted, and even as your world has turned upside down, and it seems and it appears as if we don't know what the future holds and what will happen next. but you have persevered, and now you are ready to graduate. And therefore, you deserve each and every bit of congratulations from us in the Department of Education, from your parents and family members, your teachers, from the officials in local government, as well as in the parent teachers associations. You deserve each and every single congratulatory pat on your back, each hug virtually, of course, and each greeting, which I am sure you are also receiving virtually. I don't know if you will remember this event many, many years from now. I have tried to recall myself who our graduation speaker was when I finished high school and when I finished my college studies. All I remember is that the graduation speaker was someone important, someone who was invited because that someone is supposed to give a message. What was more important to us graduates at that time was the excitement of the celebrations, the happiness and the joy of our parents, the sadness of parting from our classmates and from our teachers, and the enjoyment of all the graduation events that usually take place come commencement day. When I was a college student, we had a series of events which were designed to embed in our minds, which were designed to help us remember and not forget our days in college. We would spend one whole day going around the campus, visiting the classrooms, saying goodbye to our teachers, and sharing memories. We would have bonfires to say goodbye to each other. We had baccalaureate services where we committed ourselves to God and we prayed for guidance when we go out into the world. So many celebrations, and the speaker, of course, is the least important and easily forgotten component of the graduation exercise. Nonetheless, I will exert all efforts to share with you what I see are things or issues which a graduate should remember and recall. I have said that you are very special. You are very different. You are pioneering. There has been no other class like your class. There has been no other graduate like you as a graduating student, because you are the very first graduate of the blended learning response to education in the Philippines. And so you ask yourself, what awaits you in the world outside? You can either work, because the kind of curriculum you survived and underwent as a student will enable you to go to work if you wish to go to work. Some of you will proceed to further studies, and this would be a wonderful thing because there are many opportunities for further expanding your knowledge, for further answering and looking for explanations of issues, events that make you curious, especially in science, in technology, and also in the arts. So you can work, you can go to further studies, and Perhaps some of you will settle down, hopefully not too soon, so you can pursue what you really want to do. So today, this is why we call this exercise a commencement exercise. It's not the end of our studies. It's not the end of all our efforts with blended learning, with modules, with floods, with earthquakes, and of course with COVID. It's a commencement of doors opening to you. More doors will be opened because you are a graduate. You can work, you can proceed for further studies, you can help your parents, and you can perhaps look for opportunities to do what you have always wanted to do, whether at work, whether at advanced studies, whether at learning more in science and technology, in mathematics, and in the arts. All of these opportunities are available to you. More doors are being opened. I hope you will select the door which arouses your curiosity, the door which will help you know more about this world, and the door which will allow you to contribute to the development of our country and contribute whatever we can to solve our problems and our challenges. Congratulations once more to each and every one of you. Congratulations to you, parents and family members. Congratulations to you, teachers. When I was chair of the board of Silliman University, each time we had graduation ceremonies, during the baccalaureate and during commencement itself, I would cry. I would cry because you are sending out into the world a new batch of graduates, and we want to be sure that what is awaiting them is appropriate. We want to be sure that they are ready for what awaits them when they select which door to open. And so, we tell you, go out to the world, do whatever you want to do. God be with you, and be assured that all of us love each and every one of you. Congratulations.
By virtue of the power vested in me by the Department of Education, as school principal of Navalan National High School, I hereby present to the school's division superintendent of the Division of Zamboanga del Sur for acceptance through the district supervisor of Tucuran East District 182 completers for school year 2020-2021, 88 of whom are male and 94 are female, who have satisfactorily complied with the requirement for junior high school under the K-12 curriculum.
By the power vested in me as the Public Schools District Supervisor of Tucuran East District, I hereby certify that the junior high school completers of Navalan National High School for the school year 2020-2021 have satisfactorily completed the academic requirements for completion under the K-12 curriculum as prescribed by the Department of Education. And I hereby strongly recommend to our school's Division Superintendent, Dr. Maharani M. Jacinto, CESU 6 for confirmation.
by the power vested upon me by the Department of Education, as the officer in charge, Office of the Schools Division Superintendent of DepEd, Schools Division of Zamboanga del Sur, and as presented by the school principal and recommended by the Public Schools District Supervisor, that these candidates for moving up have satisfactorily complied the requirements of the Enhanced Basic Education Curriculum for Secondary Junior High School as prescribed by the Department of Education. I now confirm you completers of school year 2020-2021. Congratulations! My warmest greetings to everyone, especially to the honored guest of this graduation ceremony. This is one of the momentous events in the lives of learners, thus worthy of a grand celebration. It has been a challenging situation since the onset of this COVID-19 pandemic. Yet, as one of the agencies to facilitate learning, we are here to dispense our duties and function without reservation to achieve quality delivery of instruction that eventually will contribute to quality learning of children. Once again, our efforts have been awarded, holding up DepEd's goal anchored on today's theme, strengthening the quality of education amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. We are proud to have all these learners who successfully hurdled the somewhat insurmountable challenges that came in between their struggles to complete this preparatory stage for higher education. DepEd is working and will continue deliver its mission to ensure quality, accessible, and liberating education is achieved, whatever it takes. This is the aim of our beloved Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones, even in this period of uncertainty. In like manner, ensuring and reassuring safety of all that are and will be involved in the process are properly addressed. And we did it! Congratulations to all. Learners, we are blessed of your success. You are like the arrow that hits the center point of the target, despite the strong wind blowing against its direction. Now you are seasoned and well-informed. Make use of the knowledge you gain to achieve your dreams and aspirations. An aspirant to return after a series of incidents that test his will and determination with the crown of success in his head is what we are looking forward to. For all the learners that will venture to a new horizon for a brighter future. May this graduation ceremony signal a more productive endeavor ahead and a journey to success. Make your parents and the community proud of having you reach the peak of your potentials. Our warm congratulations to everyone. Teachers, the bow who directs and ensures arrow hits the bullseye. Your journey is a success. Indeed, we are here to share and savor the joy of this graduation day. Our sincere appreciation and congratulations for a job well done. Staff, school heads, principals, and my colleagues in this division are the strong foundation that keeps the journey intact. Stand before and against all odds, ensuring all learners and teachers' needs be addressed and provided. Your performance is priceless. Thank you, my dear parents, PTA, local officials, both from the different municipalities and from the province, partners in education, both external and internal, and the community. Our grand salute for your unwavering support to DepEd, more so to the Division of Zamboanga del Sur, coordinated efforts, united aspirations, and moving towards one direction, made school year 2020-2021 a huge success. A big round of applause. Thank you, everyone. Above all, to the Almighty, who made all things possible. To you, we offer everything. Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to all graduates of school year 2020-2021. Sure sa sure.
Grade 10 Curie, Class Advisor, Levi Patagok Riuyan, Brigoli John Mark Texon, son of Mr. and Mrs. Santos Bustrillo Jr. Brigoli, with honors. Briones Ramon Jr. Polmano, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ramon Liosa Sr. Briones, with honors. Kadutdut Jerome Narbasa, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jelly Asayaw Kadutdut, with honors. Kamba Janboy, son of Mr. and Mrs. Pablito Cabiasan Ortiz, with honors. Laylay Kevin Halang, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ricardo Capote Laylay, with honors. Lumongo Romel J. Sidenio, son of Mr. and Mrs. Melchor Haganos Lumongo, with honors. Manggubat Red Japeth Yusoya, son of Mrs. Flor de Lisa Manggubat, with honors. Ramos Robert, son of Mrs. Liza Tugahan Ramos, with honors. Sibla Jericho Florendo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Reneboy Quinianola Sibla, with honors. Velasco Jofeld Elena, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ilpedjo Kadutdot Velasco, with honors. Zamora John Paul Pilongo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Joel Aldaba Zamora, with honors. Abinohan Noemi Chin Pausanos, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ray Nariatano Pausanos, with honors. Adyong Nuela Peron, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Victoriano Adyong, with honors. Cabanada Shayna Grace Ballesteros, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Benito Rubio Cabanada, with honors. Kayao Mineros, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Binarao Pipito, with honors. Cortejo Lindy Ramos, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Papias Arcilias Cortejo, with honors. Dakwa Monique Saholga, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jessie Arcilias Dakwa, with honors. Dagasdas Kyla Christy Istemo, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Reggie Umpok Dagasdas, with honors. Daulong Dean Sasa, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Cabalida Sr. Daulong, with honors. De la Calzada Tricia May Abbas, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Melvin Iliedo de la Calzada, with honors. Jacoma Arzel Grace Luminga, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nelson Balsita Jacoma, with honors. Istenzo Michelle Baga, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Marlon Hinco Istenzo, with honors. Laureto Glian Oling, daughter of Miss Gemma Uling Laureto, with honors. Lumungo Dayan May Mabano, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jessie Mitilio Lumungo, with honors. Malubay Sunshine Tandoy, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bonifacio Malubay, with honors. Manggubat Jonaby Cabaltera, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jose Rivera Manggubat, with honors. Nilyas Elizabeth Linog, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Totong Nilyas, with honors. Patigayon Maymie Zapanta, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Marcelo Dayuha Patigayon, with honors. Tabora Hanilin Zerna, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Fernando Rabara Tabora, with honors. Tudtud Sarah Jane Ibanez, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Carlito Dungki Tudtud, with honors. Ungria Catherine Luna, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Raul Colina Ungria, with honors. Grade 10 Eagle. Class Advisor Jennifer Manggubat Dapat. Abirin J. Mark Salvador, son of Mr. and Mrs. Danny Abirin. Albina Florence Fajardo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Reynaldo Cortez Albina. Amba J. Crumales, son of Mr. and Mrs. Nestor Vergas Amba. Aquino Christian Lloyd Bambao, son of Mr. and Mrs. Leo Balyocanag Aquino. Balili Jerwin de los Santos, son of Mr. and Mrs. Wilson Galay Balili. Bambao K.R. Vertudazo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Renato Cabornay Jr. Bambao. Bayo Anthony Catalan, son of Mr. and Mrs. Loreto Inglaterra Bayo. Buhos Gilbert Daguman, son of Mr. and Mrs. Danilo Riquena Buhos. Bornales Cyril, son of Mr. and Mrs. Geraldo Vidal Quirante. Boris Jenard Bugtay, son of Mr. and Mrs. Godofredo Incipido Boris. Kadutdut Rinel Merbeda, son of Mr. and Mrs. Henry Limosnero Kadutdut, with honors. Chu Marvin, son of Mr. and Mrs. Marlon Cabanada Sinene. Culinares John Ray Cabanto, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ray Hotohot Culinares. Europa Francis Elizar Abiliana, son of Mr. and Mrs. Dinaleso Eliseo Europa. Guno Renhard Toribio, son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Buston Gono. Makauyag Saidi Pulogon, son of Miss Geneliza Estrella Pulogon, with honors. Muhajiron Jules Brian Tormis, son of Mr. and Mrs. Julhijar Nawadil Muhajiron. Parantar Wenrich Earl Halmaot, son of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Tilakas Parantar. Pascual Jasper Kim Velasquez, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Lucena Pascual. Ponce Alfis Cisbreño, son of Mr. and Mrs. Mario Pacatang Ponce. Riuyan Michael John Patago, son of Mr. and Mrs. Rico Baguio Jr. Riuyan. Rico Richard Jr. Sumangit, son of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Abalo Rico. Sumbol CJ Barrera, son of Mr. and Mrs. Carlos Gonzalez Jr. Sumbol. Zapanta Bobby Irug-Irug, son of Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Bacos Zapanta. Abirin Charlene Maghanoy, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bayani Dumpit Abirin. Alom Jeneline Kamatura, daughter of Miss Marlene Kamatura Alom. Aribal Sanya Pihana, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dennis Batikan Pantuan, with honors. Bakong Angel K. Riuyan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Bobeth Bakong, with honors. Ballesteros Julian Donghil, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ruben Lucena Ballesteros. Caberte Shame Nokiao, daughter of Miss Edreline Borja Nokiao, with honors. Kadutdot Giselle Argente, daughter of Miss Jeneline Argente Kadutdot, with honors. Kanyete Rhea Jane Arsoa, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rainer Canoy Kanyete. Castillo Rebecca Howard, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Victorio Moyalde Castillo. Serbo Theophany Praise Vasay, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John V. Cagas Serbo. El Carte Nelgin Fiel, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Noel El Carte, with honors. Inero Rona Cris Kadampog, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Colonia Inero. Ferrer Alea Sweet Hiron, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Alvin Iladan Ferrer. Ferrer Alveni Jean Hiron, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Alvin Iladan Ferrer. Gabato Gracel Bagayo, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lito Bergas Gabato. Gata Julia Jane Rose Salva, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Noli Magpali Gata, with honors. Habibon Ana Hamsa, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Abdua Tiblani Habibon, with honors. Irog-Irog Julimi Mag-Alasin, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dante Magdadaro Irog-Irog. Liban Rosemary Corpus, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Runito Liban, with honors. Magdadaro Denny Jean Huntong, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dino Tilio Sr. Magdadaro. Manalo Rose Ann Asilong, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Romeline Ancon Manalo. Matavia Marietlin Barino, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Libawan Matavia. Midado Crismi Bontilao, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Alfredo Compañero Midado. Merbida Jane Dunki, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Zaldi Bainoza Merbida. Parantar Glyceril Halmaot, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Tilacas Parantar. Peras Hanilin Liwagon, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Henry Lumutos Peras. Poryo Rena, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ranel Hironco, with honors. Puson April Rose Nable, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Diodito Arias Puson. Remolyo Hannah Joy Dimasuay, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Henry and Dan Remolyo. Sarmiento Maria Rowena Halang, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nelma Ronolo Sarmiento. Silguera Natasha Nicole Toribio, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Valentino Castillo Silguera, with honors. Ubayan Resel Sabal, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rene Bonghanoy Ubayan. Grade 10 Dove. Class Advisor, Zasha Bianca Hisuler Bionson. Abiliare Argel Kulanag, son of Mr. and Mrs. Angel Zapanta Abiliare. Ayaay Juvie Junson, son of Mr. and Mrs. Melanie Ardenes Ayaay. Baldicantos Jomar Floren, son of Mr. and Mrs. Amado Sungkalang Baldicantos. Bungulan Roger Jr. Claver, son of Mr. and Mrs. Roger Rojo Bungulan. Bugtay Renz, son of Mr. and Mrs. Reynaldo Pihana Aribal. Colyado Oliver Jr. Suplaag, son of Mr. and Mrs. Oliver Corpus Sr. Colyado. Inerio Juniel Ligaray, son of Mr. and Mrs. Nilo Abaton Inerio. Espinosa Dexter Taghoy, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ernesto Coming Umandam. Ispulong Eleric Undanon, son of Mr. and Mrs. Nelson Araneta Ispulong. Gungob Jason Dayondon, son of Mr. and Mrs. Samson Monticalvo Gungob. Halang John Rex, son of Miss Geraldine Arconada Halang. Humamil Kenneth Hisuler, son of Mr. and Mrs. Rolando Roma Humamil. Lagaylay Nelson Jr. Manleswi, son of Mr. and Mrs. Nelson Sr. Lagaylay. Lumutos Mike Bulagao, son of Mr. and Mrs. Lorenzo Lumutos. Luwardo James Arena, son of Mr. and Mrs. Eleuterio Diamante Jr. Luwardo. Montañez Mark Lawrence, son of Miss Heidi Usera Montañez. Orcales Eman, son of Miss Elma Orcales Fuentes. Pihana Neljon Huntong, son of Mr. and Mrs. Nelson Aligarmi Pihana. Pilongo Clark, son of Miss Gina Arias Pilongo. Polmano Jeffrey Arias, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ralph Sabihon Polmano. Romolho Jericho Makilan, son of Mr. and Mrs. Rico Kidatakan Romolho. Sabal J. Manleswi, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ponciano Sarona Sabal. Sabal Ryan J. Marata, son of Mr. and Mrs. Anisito Siketi Sabal. Savandal John Mark Manhuyod, son of Mr. and Mrs. Maxi Ortez Savandal. Urot Megan Val Arias, son of Mr. and Mrs. Saturnino Bacos Urot. Valenzuela Esmer Negre, son of Mr. and Mrs. Carino Aguinaldo Valenzuela. Zapanta Sherwin Artajo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Hiroselio Abellare Zapanta. Zinampan Mike Angelo Puzon, son of Mr. and Mrs. Reynaldo Ataban Zinampan. Andres Realin Labatigan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Randy Garces Andres. Aquino Honey Jane Bambao, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leopoldo Baluganag Jr. Aquino. Arias Rhea Jane Gandoy, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Sidenio Arias. Asad Norhana, daughter of Miss Nafisa Nonato Asad. Balintugo Tony Love, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lauro Arzola Estalane. Bation Ricame Gandoy, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Loreto Bation. Bendong Nikki Tambiling, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Nelson Lopez Bindong. Kalimpong Lourdes Viernes, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Andres Kadungog Kalimpong. Dungki Mayan Morsoa, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sofronio Cuano Dungki. Dungki Marnel May Morsoa, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sofronio Cuano Dungki. Fabros Kyla Claire, daughter of Miss Ruth Baltazar Fabros. Harapan Angel Rose Basing, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Agustin Bantilan Harapan. Lugdonyo Reyachin Pacho, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Felipe Manumbaga Lugdonyo. Maata Kenneth Candao, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Diosdado Manhaluna Maata. Makasarte Riley May Antipuesto, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Rosinas Makasarte. Madamba Rhea Jane Manggubat, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rene Laranjo Madamba. Palacio Princess May Aranas, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Albert Upendo Palacio. Palacio Charish Joy Riuyan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Charlie Ayaay Palacio. Sabanal Leia Angel Maata, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Roberto Coca Cugay. Tagaan Lorena Mintid, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Cayetano Jr. Umandam Tagaan. Tigtig Julie May Anuan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Barraquia Sr. Tigtig. Tigtig Lara May Anuan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Barraquia Tigtig. Valdez Angel Sandag, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ernesto Rama Valdez. Grade 10 Falcon, Class Advisor Prilme Rivileza Bilvestre. Anghad Ruel Jr. Inerio, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ruel Unahan Sr. Anghad. Arbas Eric John Sidenio, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ricky Nadal Arbas. Barrera Jemar Capablanca, son of Mr. and Mrs. Loloy Apiag Barrera. Beniga Adrian Opendo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jose Lamuag Binega. Bugtay Algie Abero, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ali Rosalejos Bugtay. Catalino Ramonito Jr. Umandam, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ramonito Nietes Sr. Catalino. Siniza Jared Oral, son of Mr. and Mrs. Juvencio Potimayor Sr. Siniza. Duldul Erickson, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ricky Kalimpong Kabilaw. Elemento Edibong Sitoy, son of Mr. and Mrs. Danilo Ampoy Elemento. Gukong Raymark Tubio, son of Mr. and Mrs. Angelito Espinosa Gukong. Guansing Gilbert de la Serna, son of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph E. Guansing. Hirungko Rewen Tabuelog, son of Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Nakinis Hirungko. Jimenez Charlito Kenyo, son of Miss Shirley Kenyo Jimenez. Lautenko Joshua Pitogo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Elmer Aroz Lautenko. Macasarte John Mark Antipuesto, son of Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Rosenas Macasarte. Nervar Jandi Labrador, son of Mr. and Mrs. John Sapico Nervar. Octo Saire Andalas, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jolmar Amil Octo. Paglinawan Jimmy Jr. Buliser, son of Mr. and Mrs. Jemmy Jimenez Sr. Paglinawan. Palakain Christian Paul Montañez, son of Mr. and Mrs. Chris Naves Palakain. Pihana Ronald Jr. Bugtay, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Pontera Sr. Pihana. Praja Grivenjay Limosnero, son of Mr. and Mrs. Juvencio Arena Praja. Puri Marvin Hinko, son of Mr. and Mrs. Manolo Laranjo Puri. Rolyan Renald Jr. Villanueva, son of Mr. and Mrs. Renald Patangan Sr. Rolyan. Salinas Joy Cabiasan, son of Mr. and Mrs. Pedro Morato Salinas. Ibanez Eliseo Jr. Tan, son of Mr. and Mrs. Eliseo Sr. Ibanez. Archival Cherry May Ayaay, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Elvin Arconada Sr. Archival. Baga Angel Joy Sidenio, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Eduardo Tumakin Baga. Baga Eshel May Gonzaga, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Efren Montibon Baga. Bano Evony Takan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Guillermo Ortiz Bano. Buntag Grace Suday, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jeremias Galabin Buntag. Cabrera Cassandra Diocampo, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Sahiel Cabrera. Canyeso Trixie Marie Lizondato, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Del Rosario Sr. Canyeso. Collado J.V. Sakin, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Evaristo Corpus Collado. Dakayana Noraline Karamihan, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sopriano Arcayan Dakayana. Daig Ana Rose Pihana, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Anselmo Bicagas Daig. Estenzo Maribel Fuentes, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Pedro Arnelia Estenzo. Gakutan Lenny Untong, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rolando Basilla Gakutan. Humawan Angelica Upendo, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Efren Humawan. Leoncio Lorraine Fe Polinar, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Leopoldo Abapo Leoncio. Pihana Rona Jean Bugtay, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Ponteras Sr. Pihana. Resurrection Glorivel Velasco, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Rani Coloma Resurrection. Sabal Maribel Browell, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Chofilo Siquete Sabal. Sarang Jessalyn Barriento, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jesus Sabuklalaw Sarang. Viernes Angel May Bruno, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Romeo Motas Viernes. It is with great pride and honor to introduce to you our honored guest this afternoon. He graduated his elementary course at Upper Pulacan Elementary School in the year 1996 to 2002. He finished his secondary course at our very own Navalan National High School in the year 2002 to 2006. He completed his tertiary course at Pagadian Capital College in the year 2010 to 2014. He is a registered criminologist. He was the criminology instructor at Zamboanga del Sur Provincial Government College from January 2015 to June 2016. He received several medals and awards. To name a few, we have the Medalya ng Kagitingan, Medalya ng Papuri, Medalya ng Kagalingan, and Medalya ng Paglilingkod sa Mindanao. He is currently assigned at Zamboanga del Sur 1st Provincial Force Company, Josefina. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you our speaker this afternoon, Police Corporal Armejo U. Hornadal.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat, lalong-lalo na sa mga nagpipitagan at butihing guro ng Navalan National High School. Sa mga gagraduate ng school year 2020-2021 na may taybang kalidad ng edukasyon, lalong patatagin sa gitna ng pandemya. Congratulations po sa inyong lahat. Nagpapasalamat po ako dahil naanyayahan po ako magbigay ng isang inspirational message sa mga gagraduate ngayong taon na to. Minsan na rin po ako naging katulad ninyo. Nangarap, naghirap, nag-aral, nagsumikap, at ngayon, naging isang pulis at naglilingkod sa ating bansa. Meron lamang po akong ibabahagi sa inyo na isang kwento na nabasa ko kung hindi ako nagkakamali nung elementarya pa ako. Ito ay pinamagatang Nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa. Isang araw, habang naglalakad si Juan sa bukid, sa katirikan ng araw, nakita niya ang mga pananim, mga palayan sa bukirin. Habang katirikan ng araw ay nagpahinga siya sa isang puno ng duhat. At biglang nasabi niya, nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa. Talagang nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa dahil ayon sa kanya, kung hindi nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa, ang laki-laki ng puno ng duhat, ang liit-liit ng bunga, samantalang ang liit-liit ng tangkay, ng kalabasa, ng upo, ngunit ang laki-laki ng bunga at sabay tawa niya. Nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa. Hindi naglaon, nakaidlip si Juan. Sa kanyang kaidlipan, bigla siyang nahulugan ng bunga ng duhat. Biglang nagising si Juan, sabay kamot sa ulo, at napasabing, hindi nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa. Doon niya napagtanto, doon niya napag-isip-isip na kung nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa at naging kasing laki ng bunga ng niyog ang nahulog sa akin, marahil ay patay na ako. Doon sa kwento, nalaman niya na hindi nagkamali ang Diyos sa paggawa ng kung ano ang nakikita natin sa ating kapaligiran. Gayon din sa ating buhay. Hindi nagkamali ang Diyos kung ano tayo ngayon, kung anong dinaranas natin ngayon, lalong-lalo na sa pandemyang ito. Marahil nasasabi natin na mahirap ang buhay, mahirap sa pang-araw-araw, hindi natin alam kung anong gagawin natin, saan tayo kukuha ng gagastusin sa pang-araw-araw. Pero huwag nating isipin na nagkamali ang Diyos sa pagbigay sa atin ng mga pagsubok. Huwag nating isipin na nagkamali ang ating mga magulang sa pagpapaaral sa atin dahil para sa ating kinabukasan yan. Ngayon, bilang isang pulisya, bilang isang kawani ng gobyerno na naglilingkod sa ating bansa, meron kaming mga programa, nagbibigay kami ng tulong sa mga school. Ngayon, na-assign ako sa Josefina, compact, nagbigay kami ng relief goods, hindi lang sa bahay-bahay, sa barangay, kundi pati na rin sa mga estudyante na nangangailangan ng tulong, lalo na sa module. Ngayon, huwag nating isipin talaga na hanggang dito na lang tayo, hanggang kung ano yung iniisip natin ngayon, hanggang dito na lang, wala tayong magagawa. Isipin natin na ang Diyos laging nakabantay sa atin. Ang mga magulang natin laging nakaagapay, laging sumusuporta sa atin, gayon din ang ating mga putihing guro. Kaya huwag nating isipin na nagkamali ang Diyos sa atin, sa buhay natin. Nang sa ganun ay matuwid natin at matahak natin kung ano man yung mga pangarap natin sa buhay at makamit natin itong lahat. Maraming salamat.
Magandang hapon po sa atin lahat. Ako po yung napagbigyan ng pagkakataon para bigyang katapusang programa itong ating pagtatapos o ano yung moving up. Ay ika nga, kasi nasa pandemic tayo, nasa moving up lang tayo, konting istorya lang. Ikukumpara natin sa nakaraang taon na hindi tayo nagkaroon ng graduation, na naulit na naman po ngayon, pero sa pagkakataon ito ay tinatawag nila na virtual ang moving up natin. So nagpapasalamat tayo sa Panginoon at nagkaroon tayo ng ganitong okasyon. Sa anumang paraan ay ginagawa ng paraan para matapos. Una po sa lahat, bilang PTA, nagpapasalamat po kami sa mga teachers, mga faculty ng school, at ginawa nila lahat ng kanilang tungkulin para maibigay ang lahat na kailangan sa mga estudyante na nakikipagyera po sa kanilang module. Na bawat estudyante ay nariringgan po ng salita na napakahirap, sir. Sa totoo lang po, mahirap talaga. Kasi po, wala silang adjustment sa module. Hindi kagaya ng face-to-face na pwedeng tanong at teacher kung ano nagiging problema. Pero yung module na yun, ang kausap lang po nila ay ang kanilang magulang. Maraming salamat po sa mga sumusuporta sa eskwelahan namin na nagkaroon man tayo ng pandemic, ay tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang ating edukasyon sa mga bata. At ang message ko lang po sa mga bata, palakasin po natin ang ating quality sa edukasyon para makamit po natin ang ating minimiting pangarap. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat sa ating lahat. God bless you.